Welcome, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum. This is the Monday, July 15th, 2019 regular school board meeting for the Edina School Board. John, can you just walk us quickly through the agenda?
Right. So after approval of the minutes, we did have the recognition of the golf team, but they decided to do a golf tournament somewhere else. So they'd rather do golf than be at the board meeting. We have primarily as a consent agenda tonight. And we do have a discussion around some policies, 203, 413, 414, 415, 522, 611. So the board will listen to the findings of the policy committee. And then we have some information, some changes to the appendix and policy 707, some staff recognition, and then upcoming school board meetings. Those are all just informational items for the board, and that's it.
All right. And I want to welcome Brian Bass and John Tope, who are new hires starting July 1st, so they're already 2 weeks into their system. And I assume you prepared a skit for us for the usual opening night? Oh, it looks like Brian's been picked to do the skit, so we'll save that for, it comes under the leadership update, so you get a little time to prepare. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the June 17th work session, the June 17th regular meeting, and the June 26th special meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, well, are there any changes to those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes outlined, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have hearing from members of the audience. We do welcome community input to the meetings. We ask that you keep your presentations to 3 minutes or less, that you do not make any comments regarding any individuals who are working at the district or any other community members. If you have any questions or concerns regarding them, you would notify the superintendent in writing. We also ask you don't duplicate information. And with that, I will call our first person, who is Carolyn Jackson. Welcome.
So thank you, Chair Wallen Friedman and members of the school board and Superintendent Schultz. My name is Carolyn Jackson. I live at 5716 Continental Drive, and I'm involved with the City of Edina. I'm here in my personal capacity, but I'm the chair of the Energy and the Environment Commission, so I get a lot of news. And the City of Edina Quality of Life Survey has come in recently, and I wanted to alert you to it because there's a lot of really good information in there. If you don't know, the city does a biannual survey. So every 2 years, since 2011, they do a survey of the community. It's scientific and statistically valid. This year was put on by National Research Center. You can find it. The best way to find it is to Google City of Edina Quality of Life Survey. It's actually under the government transparency website on their webpage, but it's faster the other way because it's kind of a lot of information on that website. So the good news is that Edina continues to be a highly desirable community to live in. Numbers were sort of off the charts, and more so looking at both state and national standards as well, very high. The second highest reason that people live in Edina is because of their good schools. And so I thought of you and thought you'd like to hear that. So about 52% of people said that's their number one reason for living in Edina. The top one is that it's actually a safe community. So it's good news. This year, there were 2 new areas where there are questions added, and I thought you'd be interested in this as well. One is about diversity and inclusion, and the numbers were kind of off the charts on this. So there were questions about whether Edina is a welcoming community and looking at different demographics, and then how important diversity and inclusion is to our community. So looking at that, I have to do quick math. 100 minus 16 is 84, thank you. 84% of people in the city of Edina believe this is very important to have a community that's welcoming for diversity and inclusion, and only 16% thought this was not important. Interestingly, 28% of people polled said it's absolutely essential a part of what we're doing. So here's the little black and white charts in color online, but it was very important. The other issue that was a new set of questions this year was about the environment, and 3/4 of people polled felt that taking action on climate change was very important. And I know you guys have talked about this and taken action with solar panels, but I thought you'd be interested in that as well. It's a long survey. There's a lot of information. I encourage you to look at it, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Becky Peterson. That's interesting. Welcome.
Hi, gang. I don't have a kid with me tonight. I have no speech planned. I'm just here to say that when we reconvene after this meeting and you guys talk again, I hope that you will discuss delaying the bus change for a year because the buses are still running where they would be running. And so there would be no cost savings if children just get on a bus that's in their neighborhood. Exceptions were made in the past for a reason. That reason was safety. And we look forward to hearing you discuss this in the work session. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Shane Haynes, sorry.
That's close enough.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Shane Hawes. I am a husband and a father to 3 Edina kids, and I'm also part of the Edina Masters Swimming Program. There are 19 other swimmers in the Masters Program who are also Edina residents. Tonight I'm here to talk about the Masters start time. From 1984, when this program began, through 2018, it has always been at 6 a.m. This has been a perfect time because in the Masters Program, people have to get their exercise in, but more importantly, get dressed and drive to work. The time change for the middle school has caused a third of the Masters program, third of the Masters swimmers to depart.
Flash flood warning. The national
Okay.
notice are just
What?
flash flood warnings for the county against the rain.
Just pick up your feet.
Thank you. So, yeah, yeah. Now, I was going to tell a few jokes tonight, but my wife said, hey, if you guys don't like the jokes, I might not get the vote. So we're going to keep it all business. So I'm here to ask for the time to be changed back to 6 a.m. I pulled the times of the neighboring competitive master programs, and they all begin at 6 a.m. or earlier. Bloomington, Richfield, and West Express begin at 6 a.m., Eden Prairie at 5:45, and Hopkins at 5:30. And I'm not requesting we can go that early. Unlike a gym membership where you can come and go at your leisure, swimming is a team-oriented sport. The mornings are the only times that work in Edina because the youth teams practice in the evening. I moved to Edina from Ohio 3 years ago, and I was excited to have a strong master's program here. I love Edina. I love the pool and the coaches. This morning, we began with 13 people. We are grouped based on speed, and the last set was a certain thing for time. Unfortunately, I swam solo because the others in my group had already left. Usually, we like to compete, and so it helps us go faster. Edina prides itself on being a great community providing great services. This start time is no longer competitive. My simple request is to please consider moving it back to 6. If not 6, even 6:15 would make a great difference for all of us. We want to keep this program alive and well. Thanks for your support, thanks for your time, and thanks for your consideration. Have a great evening.
When did your time get moved to? I think
Yeah.
the buzzing.
It was,
September,
I mean-
No.
this past September,
No, what's your,
coordination with the school.
What time?
so we used to start at 6, I'm sorry. And then with the whole, I guess, change, it moved to 6:45.
okay.
Thank you. Great. Have a nice evening.
Next is Kathy Olson. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Olson, and I live in Edina as well. And I'm here, Shane actually said everything in my notes. I'm here as part of the Edina Swim Club as well, and I've swam with the Edina Swim Club for 8 years. And I've no longer been able to swim as part of the program because of the new start time. And I have really nothing else to add. Every other community has an Edina swim program, as Shane mentioned. The start times are similar to 6 o'clock. I've actually moved to Eden Prairie. I have represented Edina in the past at state relays. At states competitions and meets, and I hope to continue representing Edina.
Thank you. That completes the people who have signed up for audience statements. We do have a recognition of staff. We have a commendation of Tim Anderson, who is the principal at Southview Middle School. We had an email from 72 parents saying, "This letter is to recognize the outstanding leadership and teaching staff at Southview Middle School. My student attends Southview, and we're happy with the school's leadership, teachers, and programming." And that is our staff recognition for tonight. We move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone wants removed from the consent agenda? And otherwise, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So I should have asked this question earlier, Sarah, but are we supposed to be doing roll call? Okay, so we're going to do this one on a roll call, and we'll go back for technical purposes and approve the minutes on a roll call also. So, did I get my motion to approve the consent agenda? Great. All right, we're going to do a roll call. For those who are in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Ellenberg? Aye. Fox? Garvey? Jones? Aye. Michelson?
Aye.
Hatzloff?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved, and now just for technical purposes, I'm going to request again a motion to approve the minutes of the June 17th meetings and the later June special meeting.
Ellenberg? Aye.
Well, actually, I was just going to request another motion, and we'll just, yeah, we'll do it.
So moved.
In a second? Now we'll do the roll call.
Ellenberg? Aye. Garvey? Jones? Aye. Michelson?
Aye.
Hatzloff?
Aye.
Aye. Well, we're solidly approved at this point. Next is discussion items with policy updates. Amir, do you want us to walk through? It looked like most of these are not significant changes. I think the only, wasn't 13 the only one that had any real substantive?
That's right. Many of these are just coming up because they're in cycle, minimal changes, not a lot of substance or discussion. 413 is a harassment policy, and there's not a change in what's happening with it, nor in our practice, but in some of the language and how it's spelled out. And that came at the recommendation of the Minnesota School Boards Association, MSBA. The particular change comes after the phrase sexual orientation. In Minnesota, that's the legal protection for gender identity or expression. And so now, after the phrase sexual orientation, and there'll be a comma including gender identity or expression typed out, so that there's no question about what is protected legally. Likewise, every time a protected class is referenced in the text, it's followed by a list of protected classes, rather than just once at the top and assumed elsewhere. But no change in the policy or its practice or anything about that. These are just textual changes. Mandated reporting policies, 414 and 415, they're just up for annual cycle. There's a student sex non-discrimination policy, 522. The only reason it's up is because it references a position that no longer exists in the district, and that's the title Director of Human Services. Instead, we have the title Assistant Superintendent. There's a policy on homeschooling, 611. No change there as far as any policy or practice has, but some verbiage. We used to reference homeschooled students, and it's been broadened to non-public students, in parentheses, including homeschooled students. All right, and also, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Those are the ones up for discussion here.
Any questions?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
Amir, the changes for the harassment policy in terms of the eliminating of the word gender, I understand that now that's to be included in including gender identity or expression, but I just wanted to make sure that gender generally was there to protect women. And so when I just want to make sure that if somebody were to feel that they were being harassed because they're a woman or because they're a man, that is fully included in the gender identity and that we wouldn't accidentally be taking away a protected class. Can you just elaborate on what you guys were told about making that change?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no change in what's protected. There's no lack of coverage for anybody. For example, a woman who feels they're being discriminated against because of that, no change in that. The list of protective categories includes sex, it includes gender identity or expression. So that covers everything that you would want covered, everything that was previously covered. There's no substantive change.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to verify. And then what was the explanation for continuing to list all the protected classes rather than using the term protected classification throughout the document? Was it just for clarity and to make sure that there could be no exclusion? It was more a curiosity question.
Yeah, it's just in line with the MSBA recommendation. It doesn't change anything about the document. I agree with you. It's wordier, and it may not be a style that any of us would have typed if we were typing this document in a vacuum. But as we tend to defer to MSBA on many matters, we just deferred to them on this one as well, stylistically.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the policies?
I had a question about the homeschool policy, and I guess it's more procedural. In section 9, where it talks about shared time programs, it says families applying for shared time program enrollment in Edina Public Schools will complete a shared time form application and forward it to the Student Enrollment Office for consideration. I know we've had some issues in the past, and this affected our family, where the district was only sending out these applications to those students that were designated homeschool, but not those students that were at a school that was smaller than 5 students, but weren't actually homeschooled. They have the designation of homeschools. So now that we're adding non-public students and clarifying that it's all non-public students and not just homeschool students, are we going to change our process to send out this shared time enrollment form to more students? I just want to make sure that we're consistent in our application of how we handle informing students about the option of sharing time within our school district.
That's a good question. Let me check and bring that back to you, Erica, because I don't know the answer right off the top of my head, because that language would also, I think maybe what you're alluding to is also private schools too, because it's non-public.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would want to send it out to
Right.
everyone that's in a public school, because there would be too many students.
I believe this is because of a statute change. I want to check the
I
language
think it
on
is.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure we're consistent.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, any other questions on the policies? We're moving along here. We are on to announcements. Any announcements, any committee updates?
I would just like to announce this is the shortest board meeting we've ever had.
I think it is.
It's not over yet.
Yeah,
I can extend it a long time.
that's right.
Chair Wallen Freeman, I just have one quick announcement. I just want to recognize that the meal fund for Edina Public Schools, was asked to share this tonight, received its first corporate grant from the Walser Automotive Group Foundation Board of Directors. They approved $1,000 to help Edina Public School students and families, and for everything we do to support Edina schools. Walser's mission is to increase the access to high-quality education career training programs in the Minneapolis metro area. And Walser commits 5% of all pre-tax earnings to Walser Foundation, which funds dollars in grants and sponsorships to local communities. So just wanted to share that with the board and the community.
Very nice.
All right. Any other committee updates, announcements? Well, we have completed our, I keep reading this agenda over and over again because I think that we've skipped something, but we apparently haven't. So are there